everybody, this is David, and everybody knows me as the Bagua Buddha. Some call me the Shogun of Goju, and these gentlemen here call me Goju Dave. Anyway, they're here with me to help me with this little interview. Now, how you doing, Sifu Novell and Sifu...
Coach Novell.
Rudy. Alright, Coach Novell. Alright, and Sifu Rudy.
That's what they call me.
This is the thing. I came out here to see a push hands demonstration. I just want to know, is you guys helping Ben Hill with this whole tournament?
See,
well, this
is right? So that means we're helping.
All right.
We came out, but it looks like nobody was really prepared, or the promotion went too quick. It was too short of a notice, and a lot of people, like I said, sometimes, as we know, with the man up stand up, you got to plan events, and then you got to target.
Yeah, like the first one, you know, you got to. If you don't succeed the first time, you try again. Like the first one I did, I had like 5 people showed up, and then the second one, just boom, I had cats coming from all different areas of New York City as well as out of town. Then that second one I did, there was so many, you know, competitors from different disciplines, martial art disciplines. So, I mean, that's just the breaks, man. You got to try. If you don't try, you won't succeed at all, man.
Right.
Hey, don't feel bad. I went to Philly to do a bar seminar 2 years ago. Only 2 people came. One of them was the one who sponsored it, and another one was a Wing Chun.
And how did that turn out?
Well, it was nice. We did what we had to do, but was expecting a better turnout.
Right.
But it happens when it's your first time doing events and things where you keep pegging.
So what's your gentleman's concept of push hands? Like, is it for like relaxation, or can you use it for combat?
No, push hands is a bridge to help you fight better. See, the bottom line is all of this stuff is a martial art. All of it's used for fighting. Sports is a questionable area, but all the stuff is really used for potential killing. And like Ben said, nowadays, being that we don't have to kill as much, you do want to master being healthy. But like all my teachers said, what happens when somebody else tries to change your health status? Where I grew up, we did a lot of fighting all the time. It was part of our neighborhood culture. And I got tired of getting my ass whooped. Boxing too much. I did get a little decent with it, but I met some real martial arts masters that was able to lay down the smack in ways that you couldn't even imagine. And I decided to study. I started with Kung Fu, karate, then I ended up with Kung Fu and internal subsequently towards the end of the line.
And what made you do that transition, like come from karate into Kung Fu?
Because I met an old grandmaster named Min Pai, and at the time I was pretty decent with boxing and wrestling, and thought I was a good street fighter. And I went to swing at this man as fast as I could, and all I know was his fingers was on my chest. I felt barely a touch. It felt like a baby was touching me. My feet came 3 feet off the ground. Both of my feet was in the air. My body was folded in half like this, and I was flying across the room. He did it to me 3 times. The last time when I was sliding off that wall, I just asked him, where do I sign up? And I've been with the internal ever since. I didn't turn back. I still kept up my Kung Fu and hard training for many years, but then subsequently I met many other teachers that could do similar stuff. And like Ben was saying, they were hard to find and far and few in between. I used to literally go around every day, 4 or 5 hours after school, looking for schools, and everywhere I went, if I didn't see what I liked, or if the teacher wasn't willing to get up and let me see it, I didn't care what I saw your students do. I didn't care about you breaking no board. I wanted to see if you could stop my jab or prevent my takedown, which I was good at one time. I still am.
So, how long you been teaching and training for?
I started in '73, actually, when my mother put us in a karate school, and then the teachers were a little bit extreme back then, so we dropped out. Because like I said, I was an arrogant kind of kid. I wasn't a bully or nothing, but we were brought up boxing and forced to box, by the way, and day camp was different back then. Whenever we went on the trip and we finished seeing all the animals, the boxing gloves came out, and we had no headgear. So I was a small guy. They used to call me Peanut. And they just used to throw me in there with the big guys, and I had to just blast my way out of corners. Got my head beaten a few times, TKO, knocked out once or twice. And I said, this ain't working, I need to learn some muscles. It didn't make sense to me, so I got into the martial arts. But then later, like I said, we gave that up, and then I saw these Robert Smith books on the 165th Street bus terminal with the old Chinese guys on the cover. And I was more into esoteric stuff, so I looked into this stuff and started reading the stories, and I went around to find people who knew that stuff. And then when I started using it, I found it was pretty effective. I stopped getting knocked upside the head as much. Then after a while, people started flying across the room. Bigger guys started hitting the ground, and I stayed with it. And now it's like close to 40 years. I started teaching like after my 7th or 8th year into it.
Awesome, awesome.
That's the time.
So how you met Novell?
His brother named Justice, the 5%. He used to talk about this dude that never catch a cold.
What?
That's what he used to say. He used to talk about this dude that never catch a cold. And Justice was this dude that was more on some realistic combat stuff. I could say that he wouldn't learn from you if he could kick your ass. Yeah, you didn't really hold anybody, especially martial artists, in high regards. And while he was nasty with his hands, and he used to always have this little Wing Chun book, green book, I remember. And he was self-taught, but he used to beat up people that called themselves martial artists, I should say, and karate people. There was a lot of karate people in our neighborhood back then. There was a lot of Shotokan back then, and they used to get beat down by Justice. And, he used to call him, like, he used to call Sifu, his name wasn't Rudy at the time, his name was Naaman at the time. That's what people used to call him. He was like, yeah, man, you gotta go learn the 5 elements. Because he had that type of voice, he would be like,
smooth
you gotta learn the 5 elements, and you gotta learn how to be soft and get the power from your legs.
Yeah.
That's what he used to say. And when I'm like, really? So I used to bug him. You're gonna take me to meet this guy that never catch a cold, man. So we go to this guy projects, it was in basic projects at the time in South Side Queens, matter of fact, right out here and whatnot. So we looked for him, and a few times we missed him. Then finally, we was leaving, then this dude comes off a bus. So I'm looking at him, I said, Justice gotta be joking. This dude like a bookworm, son. You know what I'm saying? He came, back then, maybe he used to have his pants up.
Yeah.
I wore it.
Tight pants.
And what about the
You
socks?
can have the working man shirt. Come off the bus like this.
Oh, God.
I didn't believe it because, my brother, Sifu Rudy say my brothers could fight.
His brother was
My brothers, a lot of my people in my family was fighters, man. But my brother Rudy was known as a fighter.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at him and I'm like, man, I don't know about this. So then we went upstairs, right? So Rudy was talking, he was explaining the difference in the arts of the term. I ain't know really nothing about it. He said this is Tai Chi, Singi is straightforward, and the circular would be chant form, and whatnot. So he always tell you which one you like. But me, I used to always go, one week I get tired, and I say, I don't think other one. So that's how I started. So I test him out, and one time in the projects, at the time he was staying with his mom.
Yeah.
So we would train up there. And I tested him out one time, and he was the lobster paw.
The lobster paw, what's that?
What's the problem?
That's what they used to call it. Now they used to call it that. They used to call it that because you would lack to get up after you get hit with it. So when I got hit with it, I said, damn, I gotta learn it. So basically, most of my experience came from really Sifu Rudy as far as the fighting aspects and the techniques of understanding the science and the principles of the internal. You know what I'm saying? Because he used to put you up against anybody. And some of his friends was crazy back then, man.
Yeah.
They see you and they know you study with naming, they gonna test you. You could get off the elevator and do whoom! Try to hit you.
Yeah.
And why not? They can't. Especially if they're drinking that night train. He used to have a lot of dudes, a lot of 5% of dudes just knock at their hands. And I met Ghazi. Back then, Ghazi was real militant. And whatnot. Remember he used to have the iron palm book? Yeah, a lot of different dudes. So you got the chance, or I should say, you got the experience to exchange with a lot of people. And there wasn't no headgear, there was no gloves or no grown cup or anything like that, man. I mean, you know what you was built of once you got in that hallway. And why not? I'm saying, why not? Guys was gonna test you, dude, and it was gonna be no slow punches or the gravity, they gonna really grab you with intent. And so that's how I learned, man. I basically learned like that through that type of experience. Grown men, because I was a kid back then, so it was a lot of grown men that I was fighting, basically.
And the good thing is, Nobel, one thing for sure, he had a warrior spirit, even when he was a kid, because as you see, he's kind of slim, he's tall and a little bigger now, but when he was coming up, he was small. He was a little skinny guy.
Real skinny, so the colonel put meat on me.
He had the will. One of the main things I remember was, even though I was teaching a lot of kids, they would give up, they would be kind of lazy, but he would always come and he would be early. Like I figured I would get rid of the kids. I said, okay, come 6 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Yeah, come 4.
And sure enough, my brother used to curse me out. Who's that knocking on the damn door?
I had to come at 4:30.
I would get up and there would be no.
That's why I know all the forms. I used to be real good. I used to come before everybody. So, and you know, I used to get my ass kicked. See, that's the thing, man. A lot of people don't understand. Like, it's a mental thing. And why not? It's not about you being the best fighter. Internal, way trains your mind. And why not? You could be weak, basically, and then just a little bit of training. If you train it properly and correctly with somebody that got the right experience, the right way to guide you, it's like planting a seed, my dude. You know what I'm saying? If you don't water that seed, eventually that seed will not blossom into a flower. You feel what I'm saying? So you gotta, every day you gotta put just a little, you gotta put just enough too. You can't overdo it. You can't over.
So you're saying balance.
You gotta make sure, moderate your training. You know what I'm saying? If you overtrain, then you hurt yourself. So a lot of people, they learn one thing from a teacher and they try to overdo it. You gotta gradually build yourself up. Just like when you water in the seed. You know what I'm saying? You can drown that seed, you know what I'm saying? Then it won't blossom into a flower. So it's the same thing in Kung Fu. A lot of these guys, they try to learn certain techniques that they try to move on to the next. And they're not ready with the first technique they learned. They haven't developed the foundation. Right. So the reason why a lot of these techniques don't work, but you always get the argument of this style is better than that style. Like I can tell you, it doesn't really matter about the style. It's the individual, their mindset. How do they comprehend what they are trained? You know what I'm saying? And you gotta understand the science. It's totally different science about what we do in traditional martial arts like karate or kung fu. It's just two different methods, but they have the same objective, I should say, and why not? So when you think about the traditional arts and you compare it to like today, modern fighting, which is MMA, Muay Thai, and why not? That's basically what you see most of the time. And then you got Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, wrestling, things of that nature.
Greco-Roman.
Yeah, there you go. Yep. But now, some people, if you just see that all the time, that's what you're going to see. You know what I'm saying? You're going to say, oh, I see that. Like what Sifu Ben Hill said about you have to set an example. You know what I'm saying? Then you can judge. You know what I'm saying? But you can't judge if I don't see anything. You know what I'm saying? If you don't see people actually using the technique, and when you do see it, it looks poorly. And guys are getting beat down. Like you see some of the videos on YouTube where mostly a lot of these Wing Chun clips where the guys stand there, get in the MMA ring, and they just stand there. And whatnot, you know what I'm saying? But when you see them do their techniques, it's like on a wood dummy, they do nice, prearranged techniques.
Right. Not
just Wing Chun, and I'm not belittling, I'm just saying in general, all Kung Fu, karate, whatever. I mean, you could tell the ones that can use it and the ones that can't, because in the fight, it's not going to look like a movie. You know what I'm saying? It's all about the mindset. The first thing is the mindset must be developed for the physical to respond properly. Now, if your mind developed correctly, how can you expect to respond to an attack?
Right.
If you ain't trained it correctly. If you ain't trained your particular method with the right approach, I should say. So that's what I'm saying. Like in Kung Fu is about sticking and whatnot. Like Sifu Rudy said, like the push hands. You asked a question about that. The push hands is a principle to teach you how to neutralize your opponent's force. Now some people think it's a little mystical. What do you mean neutralize the guy's force? This and that. We're not talking about an avatar, animation.
Right.
It's simple. It's when you make contact with your opponent, you are trying to redirect his energy, because it's all about energy regardless of what you do. When you wake up in the morning, you got to use some type of inner energy to get up off your ass, off your bed, to walk to the bathroom and wash up.
Right.
So it's the same thing. It's a physical thing, but it's also a mental thing which you're trying to learn. So basically, you're trying to redirect a person's energy or his attack or his intent to try to do harm to you, or try to balance you, which we refer to push hands. So if I touch with you, I'm learning to neutralize, but not in a mystical way or some fancy way.
Right.
If you move, I have to move in relation to you because I felt you move. You feel what I'm saying?
In today's, like, let's say, full contact tournaments, do any fighters fight in this aspect? You think
unfortunately, not too many people
because
you have some people that may be dabbling, but you don't see it. Not too
What
many
you see
people
is
are up on this aspect of the
what you see is the common punch kick type of thing. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, that's like the first approach I could consider Shaolin training, and why they teach you to stand. I mean, it's no different than boxing. If you go to a boxing gym, what they do, they teach you how to hold a position.
Right.
It's just different ways of training the same type of thing. But the difference lies in the science of how you apply your physical body, your limbs, to respond, to be able to defend yourself. It's like a self-defense mechanism. You know what I'm saying? That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to train subconsciously how to respond to an attack without thinking. And why your thoughts gotta move like this. So it's really a battle of the thoughts, not a physical thing. Because if I say to myself right now, me and you look and I get a beef with you and I say, yo, I want to punch you in your face. And why that's a thought.
Right.
Now how fast can I move on that thought? You know what I'm saying? So it's a physical thing when you deal with two people. If I got an argument with two guys, you see on the street, they argue, yo, I'm gonna mess you up, dude, and I'm gonna mess you up. You see this all the time in our urban community. Two guys running them up. Most times you say to yourself, it's entertaining, because nobody took a step. But the one that is serious, as soon as he have that thought, his thought move faster than the next man.
And he said he ain't gonna talk about it, he gonna be about it.
Oh, see, I just like that, right? I just went like that. I had the thought. As soon as I thought punch, I punch. Know what I mean? So it's the same thing. That's what they're talking about in singing, mind boxing. You know what I'm saying? You have the thought, so now you must manifest that thought into reality. So it's the same thing in combat. A lot of these dudes, I ain't gonna say dudes, I say individuals, pardon me. Individuals, and when they train, they're not training properly. It's not that you can't blame the style. Like people thinking Bagua, which is becoming more known, and why not they think that you see the move, the guy walks the circle, but the reality is it's a meditation practice. It's about teaching you how to move, and basically and understand the essence of movement and transition, because it is transition which gives us change. You get what I'm saying? So I can't change if I don't know how to transition. You know what I'm saying? It can't be changed without transition. Now, how do a human being gets to that level? You have to say to yourself, how can I change? Well, I think you gotta move, right?
Yeah.
Right? You gotta move, right? So all these guys talking about the upper part, but they're not talking about the lower part. That's your foundation, it's your step. If you understand how to step, then you can understand how to change. If you can understand how to change, then you know how to go from transition.